And welcome everybody. It's good to see you all. I got a few things to cover today, and then I'm going to lead you into broker risk management website. Broker risk management is our risk management law firm we have on retainer, and they're the ones who produce the weekly practice tip that I send around on Monday mornings. And their website contains all of the prior weekly practice tips. So if you can't reach me immediately with a question, often they're covered in the practice tips, and you can go to the website and log on, and there's an index. It's not the best index in the world, but there is an index that you can generally find what you're looking for. So we'll explore that a little bit today, just so you see it and can use it in the future. Actually, one of the questions that comes up pretty often is covered in the weekly practice tips, and on the website there is whether a trust is an exempt seller or not. And it really, in this case that we had this week, there was an investor who held the single family home in a revocable trust. They didn't live in the property, but they were not an irrevocable trust. They were more like a family trust set up in the name of the husband and wife. So in that case, they are not exempt sellers. It usually comes down whether you're a revocable or an irrevocable trust. We'll visit that little practice tip if we can find it in the broker risk management site. But since this was a revocable trust, it's the same as an individual. And therefore, even though they're an investor, they're liable to do they aren't an exempt seller, and they're liable to do the TDS and SBQ. We had a case this week of a seller's remorse, and the seller asking our agent if they could cancel the transaction with the buyer. And if you read the RPA over time, you realize there's very few outs for a seller once they agree to sell the property. The buyer, we've gone from a caveat emptor, the buyer beware kind of situation, to seller beware. The buyer can almost do anything. Our client, and the reason the seller was upset was there was a SIP in place, a seller in possession after closing. And the SIP was written for 15 days. Now, you use the SIP, the SIP form, when the seller's in possession less than 30 days. I think it's actually 29 days or less. If it reaches 30 days, then you go to a residential lease. So anyway, the SIP was written as a part of the counteroffer. Our agent wrote up the SIP for 15 days, and it had a clause in it because the seller wasn't quite sure they could get out in 15 days. Hello, Ann's cat. It had a language that was a little vague, and it said, buyer agrees to discuss extension of seller in possession at the time if the seller decides they need more time. So all it says is the buyer is willing to discuss. Well, they took it to the buyer because she wanted another week, and the buyer said, no, we need to move, and we can't give you another week. So the seller was basically upset that, she got a no for an extension of her possession. And, our agent, as many things, we said, well, if you think you want to cancel, you're going to need to talk to a qualified California real estate attorney, the old CRMLS. And but why don't you sleep on it overnight, and we'll talk about it in the morning and see what you can do, to keep the terms of the contract in place. So, sleeping on stuff overnight is often a good remedy. I recommend it. Trying to rush to a decision, just, what do you think about it and what all the alternatives are? And of course, in the morning, she had figured out some way she could get out on time, and, the issue went away. But once in a while, we do get a seller who is remorseful about the sale and wants to cancel. We even had one time that we were the listing agent. They signed the listing, we sold the property right away, and then they came back and claimed we recommended too low a price. And we actually kind of made some financial settlement with that party to make them go away and not, get lawsuits involved. So sometimes, we make practical decisions around that sort of stuff. We have one transaction now where we didn't realize it at the time. We're representing the seller, but the seller is actually in a short position on the payoff of the transaction. And when the title company got the payoffs from the lenders, the actual payoffs, and did a seller's estimated closing statement, the seller had to kick in $13,000 to close the transaction. So that's not pretty. And we're working with the seller now to see how that can happen. They have some resources, but they can't get them out immediately. We may actually hold the receipt of our commission for a while until they can get these funds from another source so the closing can go ahead. So you just remember, Randy and I are so, have experience with these things. They come up in the past. And some, we can be practical and flexible about some things that that come up that might be unusual. We've also got a means to make some interim loans on listings that need improvement, where the improvements would significantly add value to the property, and there's enough equity in the property to give us security, where if we loan a seller money for, let's say, painting the exterior of the house or cleaning up landscaping, they don't have the immediate cash to do that, but it would really help us marketing of the house. We generally can kind of make a loan to that seller under certain terms and get us through that process. But the main thing is that there's plenty of equity in the property, and they have the resources to pay us back if the property didn't sell. So keep that in mind. It's just an extra kind of arrow in our quiver, as they say. Any questions on any of that stuff, or any transaction questions you're dealing with right now? We can cover, and then I'll go on to broker risk management. So.
Gary, if someone wants to take advantage of the loan for improvements,
Yeah.
What should we do? Just reach out to you or Randy, or
Yeah.
just get you guys on board? And
yeah, it's a one-on-one deal. It's not a blanket kind of systematic thing. We kind of set it up individually for each homeowner.
Great, thanks.
Okay, well, I'm going to share screen here and go to, this is my browser, DuckDuckGo. I like DuckDuckGo. Let's see, whoops, there we go. I can remove this thing. Anyway, I have broker risk management in my favorites saved bookmarks, but I can't get to my bookmarks in this formation. So it's broker risk management. is the name of the group. And it's .com. So let's see if this will take us there. Yeah. So it's broker risk management, and they are brokerage consultants. And this is Bill Jansen, who we've worked with, oh gosh, 30, 40 years, I would say. And Vicky Nadorf, who used to be the attorney for Coldwell Banker Corporate, our NRT, Northern California. So she dealt with thousands of agents and managers and so forth. So we're lucky to have these two as our risk management team. So you click on that and you get to, this is the landing page for their website. And this is kind of obscure up here at the top, but it says client login right there, that little unlock button, you know, the key button. So you click on that, and you put in your our username for the company is BHGWCG. So it's Better Homes, Gardens, Wine Country Group, all in caps, BHGWCG. And then our password is capital BONITA, Bonita. BONITA, capital B. Log in. Okay. So you can see it lands now on the weekly practice tips. And these are in order in which they're posted. So the one I sent out this week was a seller who receives post-close of escrow buyer claims. So I hope you all read that, and because it comes up now and then. And the week before is what is a lis pendens. The week before, removing unlawful restrictive covenants, and so forth and so on. So here's a search by topic. And I'm going to try exempt seller. And there's a tip from Exempt Seller Disclosures the Right Way from 2021. And then these are related topics. There's Exempt Seller Disclosures from 2016. I'm not sure I trust that one, that's 5 years old. This is an interesting one. How to disclose seller's refusal to complete and sign disclosure forms. Every once in a while, we get the seller doing that. Death on the property. So if you have a death on the property, you can check out this weekly practice tip and see what needs to be disclosed and how. Here is just handling the transfer disclosure statement the right way. So let's go back up to exempt sellers and see what it says. So exempt seller disclosures the right way. Sellers are exempt from completing the TDS. Is exempt seller disclosure the ESD form required? That's the question. They usually start this out in the form of a Q&A. Answer is, although some sellers may be exempt from completing the TDS, all sellers have both common law and statutory disclosure obligations that must be met. This tip will focus on why the exempt seller disclosure form is required and the right way to use the newly revised CAR ESD form by sellers who are exempt from completing the TDS. And then it goes on to talk about contractual and common law disclosure obligations, so forth and so on. And then these always, practice tips, if you looked at a few of them, they always end up with this last part called practice tips. One, if the seller is exempt from completing the TDS, the seller should not complete the TDS. Even if they're willing to, they shouldn't do so. Listing agents handling residential property should provide all exempt sellers with the ESD form, and at the same time provide either the CARDIA or the PRDS. Well, we don't use the PRDS, so DIA, I'm not even sure I know what DIA is, so may I have to go check that out. Listing agent 2, listing agent should tell exempt sellers to pay special attention to 4K. That's 4K in the ESD. This is where the sellers need to fully and completely disclose all known facts that materially affect the property's value or desirability. Speaking of desirability and material affecting the value or desirability, I got a call this week. And what was that question? It had to do with something the seller was disclosing and whether it was a material fact or not. We always lean on the side of disclose, disclose, disclose. The more the seller discloses, the better they are protected in post-transaction disputes that may come up. So in this case, it seemed like a minor matter, but we decided it was best for the seller to disclose it. Because the exempt seller disclosure has very little blank space available, listing agents should encourage sellers to use additional sheets of paper or an addendum to fully make all of their required disclosures, including their explanations for any of the seller's yes responses to questions 4A through 4J. 4, listing agents should give sellers a sample copy of the TDS and a sample TDS supplement, the SPQ or the SSC, with a warning that those two forms are not to be completed. They are to be used merely as a checklist or reminder of the types of things a seller should consider in completing the ESD form. And then this refers us to other TDS forms or other related practice tips that were done earlier. There was another one that I wanted to check in on today, which is AVID. AVID, performing the agent's statutory duty to inspect and disclose during the COVID-19 pandemic. That happened in April 2020, so that was new then. Handling the visual agents, the AVID, the right way. So I like this one because I get questions on AVIDs all the time. And this talks about how the AVIDs came about, residential use 1 to 4. Both the seller's agents and buyer's agents have a statutory duty to, and our duty is actually to conduct a reasonably competent and diligent visual inspection, of the property offered for sale and to disclose to the prospective purchaser all facts materially affecting the value or desirability of the property that the investigation would reveal. So this says visual, but I've been in classes, and I think Vicki and Bill would back this up, that our other senses are involved in walking through a property also. So if we smell a foul odor, and that's not visual, but it's a sense, it's a sense we have, odor, we would disclose strong odor in second bathroom, or something like that. If we hear strange noises, we hear planes overhead, something like that. That's using our hearing, and it might be worth disclosing that the property appears to have be near a flight path of a local airport or something like that. These should also be in the seller's disclosure statement, but they should be covered in our AVID also. This talks about when is the AVID required, when is the AVID not required, any property other than a residential 1 to 4 unit, i.e. 5+ residential, commercial, vacant land, etc., or new construction that was completed pursuant to a public report. So we don't need to do an AVID if we're representing a buyer or a seller in new construction, if it was subject to a public report. Timing of the AVID. This is interesting because there was a theory back when that if the buyer's agent held up the AVID, doing their AVID, that it would extend the inspection period, potential inspection period for the buyer, i.e. That the TDS wasn't fully completed, and that was a seller obligation, and the buyer maintained their 3-day right to terminate the contract under the terms of the TDS. But that's not true. So if either the seller's agents or the buyer's agent's AVIDs are late, they don't affect the timing of when the seller delivered the TDS. Now, they may have issues in them that the seller did not disclose in the TDS. And I've seen situations where the AVID triggered the seller to create an amendment to their TDS. Then that does become an amendment to the TDS, is a new TDS, and that would create a new 3-day right of rescission if that came about. So anybody got a topic they want to look up here? I mean, you could look up any topic, trusts. We talked about exempt trusts, the representative capacity, signing representative capacity form, who must complete the disclosure. If you've got a representative capacity individual dealing with an LLC right now, and the LLCs have managing members who are authorized to sign on behalf of the LLC and so forth and so on. So you can type in almost anything here related to our business and find some practice tip on it, because they've been doing this for a while. Okay. Any further questions on that? And if not, I'll let Heather get on with her tech training for the day. Okay, let me make you co-host here. I forgot to make co-host. Okay, you're good to go, Heather.
Okay, great. Great. Thanks, Gary. I always love looking at that broker risk management, having that resource when I have questions and it's 11 o'clock at night. Let's see. What's that? Don't work at 11 o'clock?
No calls at 11 o'clock.
Don't call you. Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, definitely. Okay, since there's no questions, I just want to throw out to you guys some really handy mobile apps that you might want to consider bringing into your world. You know, all of us are so busy right now, out and about. Now that, you know, the world's opened up again, I know I keep finding myself in my car or somewhere and realizing I don't have access to something that I need. So I wanted to show you guys a few different options that are out there in case you don't know about them. The first piece is that a lot of the programs that you use regularly, like BAREIS MLS, where's my little notes, and Docusign, are available in mobile apps, and you can do most of the things you normally would do right at your phone. Obviously it's tiny, it's not as easy, but if you're not going to be back to your computer for a couple hours, it can be really nice to use that. The first time you use them and download them, I recommend that you do it at your computer or at somewhere wherever you have all of your passwords, because you do have to log in with use your regular login info so that you have access to your regular account. So that's my first tip, is just, if you like the idea of these, sit down before you head out today and download them on your phone and then log into all of them. Most of them you can save the login so you don't have to do it repeatedly. And before we jump into, well, this also is a mobile app. There is, speaking of passwords, if you are not currently using a password manager, I want to encourage you guys to look into utilizing one. This is an article from PC Magazine. They do a ton of technology reviews. And these are the 3 top password managers that they recommend. Password managers are great because you could input all of your passwords into them. And if you have them on your computer, they'll just automatically, when you log into something, they'll ask you, the manager will ask if you want to save it. And then when you're away from your computer, you just need to remember one password to access your password manager. And then you can, get access to all those passwords wherever you are. Like, say you pop into the office, you don't bring your computer, but you want to do a CMA on the office computer. Well, if you use one of these managers, you can get access to all those passwords that you need. The highest rated one here is Keeper. I've never used Keeper, but if you don't have a password manager and you want to think about one, I would say take a look at this because it is the most highly rated. Dashlane I've used, and I'm sorry if anybody uses it, but I couldn't stand it. I didn't like the way it worked at all. So if you don't have one, I would stay away from Dashlane. LastPass I have used for years, and it's very easy to use. It's been very reliable. So I would recommend, if you're going to, if you need to get one, that you either check out either Keeper or LastPass. And they're super easy. LastPass has a free starter one. I think I've been using the free one forever. I've never needed to upgrade, but there are options to upgrade if you want more, more functionality, I guess. I've never come across when I needed that. So that's the first thing I suggest, is get yourself a password manager, because we have so many passwords we have to deal with. My goodness. So there's that. Then the next thing I want to talk to you guys about is if you are not yet using a mileage tracker. So, when you're driving around for business, you have the potential of writing some of that off on your taxes. Of course, I'm not a tax professional. Talk to your your tax accountant or your CPA to find out more about it. But if you want to track your mileage, I recommend Mile IQ. There's a lot of them out there. Mile IQ is very highly rated, and it's very easy to use. Again, you just download it on your phone. The only downside is that the free version only gives you 40 trips, which I don't know about you. I do that in about 3 days with driving my kids to school and to the office and to showings. Every there and back is a trip. So most of the tracking services do have a fee. Mile IQ is, I think it's $5.99 a month, or you can pay for a year for a little bit less. But it's very worth it to me to not have to think about writing down what my starting mileage is and my closing mile, so that I can keep track. Some of the really handy things about Mile IQ is every time you drive, it automatically tracks your mileage, and then it gives you the option. Here you can see on the picture that you either swipe, you see the path that the route you just took, and then you either swipe left if it was personal, or you swipe right when it was business. So it makes it really easy, either after drives, at the end of the day, or sometimes I even go in every 1 or 2 weeks and just swipe. Okay, that was to the grocery store. That one was to a showing, and keep track. It easily divides it up for you that way. It also shows you, you can't have the option to flag certain routes when they're always either personal or business, right? So like the route for taking my kids to school, always going to be personal. I don't even have to swipe that anymore. It automatically logs it as a personal route. Same with, like if you drive from one office to the other, right? From the Santa Rosa office to Lake County. Well, that is going to swipe you automatically. After you've done it a couple times, it'll ask if you want to flag it to automatically log it as a business expense. There was one other thing. I guess that was it. It's super easy. Oh, and then monthly, it'll send you an email, and you can download your information to give it to your bookkeeper or your CPA or what have you at the end of the year. So it's very handy and easy. I love that one. Let's see. Now, some other things that I'm probably are using in person, but also do have, or on your computer, but also do have mobile apps. And it's not letting me pop into this one. Let me reshare. Oh, no, just a second here. Here we go. Okay, so you can also get a completely free mobile app for Disclosures.io, or that home light listing management. So if you are using Disclosures.io, I think this is very convenient to have on your phone. If you, as a listing agent, are have your your listing disclosure packets in there, it's really handy, because one thing you can do is at an open house, you can share a packet directly from your phone. You can also access all the documents directly from your phone that are in any of these packets. So what happens when you first go in, you do again have to log in with your regular login info, but the very first page, I don't know why they don't show it here, but is a list of every packet that you currently have access to. So it shows all your listings, and then it'll show all of the buyer packets that you've requested that haven't been closed out. You can go into those. Let me pull it up here. Oh, I don't think you guys can see on my phone. Let's see, probably, no, it's just a blank white screen. That doesn't work at all. No, anyways, so what it shows is just a list of every single home, and then you click on that, and then you get into the actual property, which is what this one on Delta Circle looks like. From there, you can share the property. So again, if you're hosting an open house for your listing and a buyer is there, wants to see the disclosures, you can share it directly from your phone. And you can also go, you can barely see this on here, but under share property in very light gray is viewers. So you can see what all of the both agents and potential buyers that have accessed the package, you can see them right there. If you ever need to go, let me find the sample here of that. So there's viewers, you can see clicked on. And then once you go over into, say, for instance, you were looking at viewers and this buyer agent, Ashley Lang, had viewed it. When you click on him, it does give you, oh, I see a raised hand. I'll get you in 1 second. Thanks, Jessica. It gets you access. If they've inputted their phone or their phone number, then you can call them directly from the app or message them from there. So that's really nice if you're out and about and you want to maybe check in, send a text to all agents have shown the property, something like that. Jessica, question?
Do you have to be a member of a home light? Like, do you have to be an agent on there? Because I'm seeing the home light listing management product.
So Disclosures.io is a free thing. Yeah, you have to go in and log in or, make an account, but it is included, or, it's there's no additional cost for it. So you just go in and subscribe, not even subscribe, just become a member, and then you'll have access.
Okay.
Yeah,
because I do home light. I get home light leads, and they've never asked me about any of this stuff.
Oh, I think they must have recently merged. I think, or changed the name or something, because it used to be Home Light was the leads and Disclosures.io was separate. But now when you log into Disclosures.io, it says Home Light Listing Management. So
yeah, because that's the same logo and everything.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. Well, the disclosures package portion is really handy because you can create a whole packet and have, you just give potential buyer agents a link, and then they can access that whole packet and share it with their clients. So it's really convenient. The other piece is, oh yeah, going back up, well, I can show it to you right here. 2 over from that viewers is very light and gray there, but it is where all the documents are. So you can click right on that and then you get access. Let's see if it shows a picture of that. No, it doesn't look like it does. Anyways, it gives you access to all the documents, just like on your computer. And you can click into them and it opens up. So if you're out and about and your client asks you, oh, wait, what was that on the pest inspection? You have to look at it on your phone, but you can access it right there. So it's really convenient. And all of the buyers packets that you have requested will be in there as well as your listings. Cool. Any other questions on Disclosures IO app? All right, I have one more to share with you guys. I think just one more. Yeah. Another great one that you are already using, I'm pretty sure, but a lot of people don't know that there is an app is, whoops. Sorry, I don't know where my share button is. There we go. Share screen. Is Docusign. Docusign also has a mobile app and has pretty much all of the functionality that you get on your desktop or your laptop. So if you ever, if you are ever out and about and you receive a counteroffer and your clients want to sign it right then, you can pop that document over into the Docusign app and send it to them. And it is free. It is not, there's no extra charge for that. Again, you just have to log into it with your regular login credentials. Now, Zip Forms also has a mobile app. It has very, very low ratings. I've never used it, so I think you're probably better off just trying to use, when you receive documents, put them directly here into Docusign. And then I know I talked about before, but don't forget that there's also the BAREIS MLS has an app and it works almost exactly the same. I have to see if I'm imagining CRMLS also does, but I'll have to find out. But the BAREIS
Really
app,
quick. Yeah, the CRMLS has 2 apps actually. They have one that's called CRMLS and then they have another one called MLS Touch.
Okay.
And the MLS Touch you can set up to automatically post your new listings or price improvements through their brand and share. You can pick your colors and things like that. I don't know if you've seen my Facebook, but whenever they pop up automatically, it goes right to Facebook seamlessly. You don't have to do anything. But when you click on it as a user, it goes to Prospect Plus. So it doesn't necessarily go, to CRMLS, it goes to Prospect, which I don't know what kind of contract they have together, but it's still fine. You still get the information you need and you as the agent shows up and your information.
Oh, good, good. So if someone's like at a listing and they haven't brought a report, they can access that and get all the property information.
Yeah, you can open it up and get square footage, and they actually just linked realist tax. So now you could look up the tax records and it links it now. It used to not link it, now you can. So that's really cool.
Yeah, yeah, awesome. That's great. That's great. BAREIS also has that. So both CRMLS and BAREIS use their app, have it in case you don't have that information with you. And they both work the BAREIS one, at least I know, works pretty much exactly like it does on your laptop. You just, again, have to have your login info so that you can access it when you're out and about. Yeah, Jessica.
So on the BAREIS app, or even just using it, so with Marcia, we would just use her login information and go in that way. Now that we're with Better Homes, do we have our own? How does that work?
Great question. Do you know the answer, Gary?
About BAREIS?
The
Was it,
lake.
Jessica? Yeah. No, an individual would have to join BAREIS to automatically have their stuff there. You could use Randy or I to go, put stuff into BAREIS, but obviously it's going to show our names, and because you weren't a member. So
Yeah, with Marcia's, we
if
would
you have
put it
that
in there.
situation come up and you don't want.
With Marcia's,
Yeah.
we'd put it in there, and then in the private notes, we would say, listings listed with Jessica Spencer, and then the cell phone number. Please don't call Marcia, because she would get bombarded with phone calls for our listings in BAREIS.
Yeah. Was that done on all listings, or was that just on a special request basis?
Just a special, the big fancy homes, if you'd say, to put on there so more people saw them. I don't usually put listings on BAREIS unless the
I
client
think
asks me.
Yeah, Karina has a BAREIS account too, so you could use me, Karina, or Randy for those purposes.
Great.
So we can use Karina, you said?
Yes.
Okay.
Just don't abuse her. Use her, but don't abuse her. No. Okay. All right, you guys, any questions about any of those mobile apps? We need to all be, we all on the go a lot. So want to make sure you have access to what you need.
Those are good tips. I appreciate that, Heather.
Yeah.
And if I could just say, another good app that I like to use is Self-Employed QuickBooks. And it also links to my banking account. So then I can go business or personal, and same things with the trips, the mileage, and it's $12 a month.
Oh, nice.
It's prints the whole thing for my tax lady. Works really well too.
Nice. Great. Awesome. All right. Do you have, well, I want to talk to you more about that. Anyways. Okay, well, that's all I have today. Any other thoughts or questions?
Yeah, if you have a particular thing you'd like either of us to cover, either on a contract basis or a tech basis, just send us a note, drop us an email. And
I have a question. Do
you
know when the new residential purchase contract is going to be available?
Yes, December 15th is the launch date. Now, our legal update, which will be a virtual thing on November 5th from 9:30 to 12:30. So mark out that time. And Vicki will be going over the new RPA in detail. So, you can sign up for a class. I know Norbar has some classes, and I'm taking the Gov Hutchison one on the 15th of September, but you needn't sign up and pay for those because we're going to provide one in that legal update on November 5th. Okay. Well, unless there's other questions, we'll send you off for this week. And I think we're both around next week, Heather. Yep. So let us know if there's anything in particular that comes up, and we'll look forward to seeing you next week. And we will have a company-wide sales and marketing meeting next Friday before this, at 10 o'clock before the 11 o'clock training. Okay.
Right. And don't forget, next Saturday, the 11th, is the company barbecue.
You got it. We've got over 100 folks coming, I think. So
Oh, nice.
Should be fun.
Great.
All right, everybody. Have
Awesome.
a great weekend.
Thank you, guys.
And good Labor Day.
Bye.
Well,
Hope you get a 3-day weekend.
fingers crossed.
Bye-bye.